Happiness. That's one of the things we're always chasing, right? Constantly as humans. And so in this video, I'm going to teach you how to actually maintain a very high level of happiness and joy in your life, and what I've done to really be between a 7 to 10 almost every day of my life throughout the day, and how this wasn't always the case, and I've gone through lots of downs, depression, suicidal thoughts, all the things, right? And so this is a really important topic because so many of us are gonna, all of us are gonna have constant desires throughout our life. That's why we're here, to experience new things. We're always gonna desire more because we are a part of source. We come from the source that desires everything, that's infinitely creating, that's always gonna be infinitely expanding. So our nature is to desire, which is a beautiful thing, to want more. And why? Because we want to experience the joy, the feeling that we would feel in getting the things we want and becoming the person we want to be, right? So if you can understand, wait a minute, the reason why I want the appearance change, the person, the relationship, the money, the house, the car, the travel, the this, the that, the online business, the growth, whatever, is because of how I think it's going to make me feel. Then you're like, wait a minute, how about I feel as good as I can feel now, and I'll feel even better when I get the thing, right? Because most of us go through life thinking, when I become this, when I achieve this, when I get this, then I'll be happy, right? And I know this is a cliche term now because we hear it a lot from people, like, oh, be happy now, be in the present, stop and smell the roses. That's not what I'm talking about, right? Like, that's really cliche advice, and it's actually good advice. There's a reason why certain things are cliches, because they're probably useful and more people should follow it. But that's not exactly what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the realization that everything that we want in our life is because of how we think it's going to make us feel. Even for those of you who are religious, who believe in an afterlife, let's say you believe in a heaven afterlife, why do you want to work hard or do certain things in this life to get to heaven? Because of how you think it's going to make you feel, right? It makes you feel better now to think about a heaven, and you believe that in the heaven you'll feel better. So it doesn't matter what your spiritual beliefs are. It doesn't matter if you're an atheist. It doesn't matter if you're religious. It doesn't matter. Everything you want right now comes down to how you think it's going to make you feel, right? Can we agree on that? Okay, good. So if that's the case, how about you start fucking feeling good now, right? And listen, here's the thing. If you're in a survival mode in some area, if you're broke as fuck, if you're having money issues, if you're having health issues, you're having relationship issues, I've been there. All of them, right? It is very fucking tough to just be happy. So the goal when you're in survival mode isn't to go jump from 0 to a fucking 100. That's not the goal. And if someone's telling you that, you're probably going to want to punch them in the face, because it's not easy when you have these problems occupying your fucking mind to just go and try to be happy, to feel better, right? So I think chasing happiness may not be the next step for you, but like I said earlier, feeling better, that actually is a possibility for you, and what you should do, and what's a natural next step for you, right? So let's break it down. If you're in survival mode in some area, I really suggest that the goal for you should be to feel a little better, okay? Regardless of what's going on in your life. So let's say you're at a 3, like on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being least happy, despair, just don't want to be alive, 10 being the happiest, right? Let's say you're at a 3 or a 4 or 5 in some area of your life, or just overall. Your goal, if you're at a 3, is to get to a 4, okay? That's the next step. Now, if you can get to a 10, great, right? In some moments you might be really happy. You might see something online that makes you laugh. And I want that. I want you to have more moments like that. But overall, your goal should just be, how do I get to a 4? So the goal is, of course, to feel better, right? So know that if you're in survival mode in some area, try your best to feel slightly better, because then that 4 will turn into a 5, and then a 6, and then a 7, and an 8, 9, 10, right? And this can all happen. This process doesn't have to take long. This can all happen instantly. This can happen the same day, or it could be dragged out a little bit more, depending on your situation and circumstance, and that's okay, right? But at the end of the day, we all want to constantly feel better or feel the best we can. Okay, so that's if you're in survival mode. So whether you're in survival mode or whether you're not really in survival mode, you're kind of just like at a 5 or 6 most days, or sometimes it goes below or whatever. Here's what I do. Personally, I have decided and committed to being at a 7 to 10. regardless of what happens, right? And so what that means is that for me, 7 is kind of a baseline of peace, right? Because a lot of people talk about peace, a lot of spiritual teachers, religious teachers, and I think that peace is a great baseline, right, to kind of live off of. I don't think that's where I want to be all the time, though. I want to be in joy. I want to be in happiness as much as I can. I want to be excited. I want to feel thrilled. I want to feel amazing. And I do believe you can feel that throughout the day for the rest of your life. I do genuinely believe that, right? But 7 is kind of my baseline. So 7 is more like, okay, I'm feeling pretty good, content, at peace, right? And then beyond that, 8, 9, 10 is just more joy. You know, and joy doesn't have to be just hee-haw, jumping off the walls. It can be, and for me, I do experience a lot of that. I'm constantly laughing and smiling and finding reasons to be happy, right? But it can also mean clarity, right? You watching a video and getting clarity, having something hit your heart that you didn't know before, that you felt like, wait, maybe I do remember this now, right? Maybe I've always known this, but hearing it's making me feel a resonance with it, right? So clarity and knowledge can be a 10. That feeling is really powerful, right? So, and love obviously is a 10, right? Anything you can experience when you feel really, really good. When I say joy, a 10 doesn't always have to mean just laughing, right? 10 can mean lots of different things, just anything that makes you feel really fucking good, okay? And so I use the word joy for that. Sometimes I'll interchange it with love and things like that. But I think that's really the goal, because if you make that the goal, then it doesn't matter what happens. And ironically, some people have a problem with this, and I used to also. It's like, I don't want to just be happy. I want to have the things too, because if I'm just happy and if I let my life go to shit, I'm going to be unhappy, right? And that's not what I'm saying. I'm not telling you to just be happy and not pursue the things you want to pursue. I'm telling you to be as happy as you can fucking be now and pursue the things you want to pursue, right? So pursue the money, the body, the relationships, the house, the cars, the travel, the relief, the whatever it is that you're going through. Maybe there's some major issues in your family, maybe there's issues, whatever it is that you're going through, right? Pursue all those things, solve for those things, get those things, right? But remember, the only reason why you want any of those things is because of how you think it's going to make you feel, right? So don't forget that, right? Because if you realize that about yourself, if you can really just have an aha moment right now, it's going to change your life forever. And what this does, it's really exciting what this does, because now you know that you're in charge of your own happiness. You're no longer a victim to circumstances. You no longer have to react to circumstances, right? So this is the way I personally do it, right? If there are things that happen that I'm really happy about, of course I react to those, right? Because I want to be happy reacting to those things. If there's things that aren't the best, naturally, I may have a negative emotion or response. I'm human, right? But I won't let it throw me off. I won't let it, just take me down, throw me off the rails, and stay in a very low place for a very long time, right? So if I go through something that, brings me down pretty low, something, just an outside circumstance, and maybe something that I'm just kind of upset about, right? I'll try not to stay there for as long as I can. Like, I'll try not to stay there for a really long time, right? I'll bring myself back up to a 7 or 10, because again, I've trained myself over the years to not let circumstances define my thoughts and feelings, right? I define my thoughts and feelings. I choose my thoughts and feelings, not my circumstances. And ironically, because your thoughts create your reality, your thoughts create your results, the more you think of the things that you want, you think as if you have what you want, you will create a new reality. You will create a new circumstance, right? So your circumstances will improve just by you thinking better, right, about your life and choosing to feel better about your life. So I think this is a really, really important concept, because, it's interesting how someone will go their whole life chasing happiness. And I think that pursuing happiness is the point of life. It's to experience more and more joy and to continue expanding, right? And creating. So I do think that's one of the purposes why we're here. But I think when you're doing it in a way where you think that when I get this, when I become this, then I'll be happy, you're actually never going to be as happy as you can be. And the happiness that comes will be very fleeting. And so for me, that's very disappointing for you if you live your whole life that way. I think some people at very late ages in their life realize this, and they're like, man, I could have been so much happier, right? And so I think that's really, really important just to remember about happiness. And like I said, creating a baseline for yourself. If the 7 to 10 thing really works for you, try that out. It's something that I've been doing this for years, but I decided to kind of put a number on it recently, and it's actually been pretty powerful for me, because once you've decided and committed, I'm always going to be within a 7 to 10 as much as I can be, then you will be, because I have been. And there could be things that aren't going out the way I want them to. I could have fears. I could have, certain things in my life that I need to improve, or that I need to work on, or that I'm worried about. But I still won't really dip below a 7 or 10. And I think just me choosing to be in a level state of peace and happiness, that 7 to 10, is on a spiritual level what aligns me with the all that is. It aligns me with source. I'm one with source, right? And when you're one with source, you're one with all the abundance and all the things that source has available to you right now. So those things manifest in your life gets better, it gets easier, then you have more reasons to stay at a 7 to 10. Right? It's very interesting how this works, because a lot of people teach gratitude, like, oh, be grateful, like feeling good. But yes, there's a feeling good part, which is ultimately what matters. But then also practically, for those of you who are like, yeah, but I still want the stuff, the feeling good is what allows you to get the stuff, right? Constantly choosing to feel better now is what allows those things to come into your life, right? So they either show up in your life just by you thinking and feeling better, or you're inspired to take some sort of action, right, to manifest those things and create those things for yourself, right? Either way, it's a win-win. So again, remember, focus on how you feel. A lot of people will see me, a lot of my friends, my fans, my social media followers on different platforms, and they'll be like, man, you always look so happy. And I'm like, because I am, And it doesn't mean that I don't have moments of boredom. It doesn't mean I don't have moments of just feeling kind of just at peace. I'm not always like, yeah, I'm not always jumping off the walls. But I'd say most people who meet me genuinely will see I'm one of the happiest people that they know. And I love that about myself. I kind of like that about myself. And I want everyone else to feel the way that I feel on a day-to-day basis. I think it's an amazing feeling, right? I feel like I'm living my dream life. I have created my heaven on earth, and I want to create so much more, and I want to help you do the same, right? So I love teaching these concepts to you so that it can help you, just like I've come up with many of these concepts myself through my own brain and through my life experience. And then other times I've combined it with other mentors and coaches that I've learned from, right? And so, just remember that is the point of life, is how much joy you feel on a day-to-day basis. And another thing that I'll leave you with here is success is defined very differently by a lot of people. And I think that truly ultimate success, is the amount of joy you feel on a day-to-day basis. That's it. It's not the amount of money you have. It's not the cars and houses you have. It's not the relationships you have. It's not the kids you have. It's not the body you have. It's not how you look. It's not who you know. It's not what you're doing in the world. It's not your job, your business, career. It's none of that shit, right? I'm not saying those things don't matter. They do matter. They can matter, and they should, right? If you want them to matter. Those could be sources of you feeling successful and happy. But that's not what true success is. True success is how much joy you feel. Because remember, throughout your life, think of all the people who have lived before us. So many of them are forgotten, right? And that whole topic is very different, right? Let's talk about that some other time. But it's like really what really mattered, right? While that person was living, from their point of view, from their consciousness, is how they felt throughout their life. Right? Some people created heaven on earth, some people created hell on earth, right? So the choice is really up to you. And I think that it's just so interesting that so many of us will chase after what we think will make us happy. So we'll chase after success. And don't get me wrong, right? I love having a lot of money. I love having a lot of sex. I love having great relationships. I love having happiness. I love having new experiences. I love having great friendships. I love, grooming myself, looking the way I want to look, I love dressing up. I love all those things, right? There's so many things that I love. I love coming on here, posting here, if it can help someone, right? There's a lot of things I love doing, but I ultimately realize that those things that I like doing, it's great, it's beautiful, and I should honor that. but those things aren't what make me successful, right? What makes me like chasing those things and trying to show other people that I get to experience those things or have those things isn't the measure of success I want to live by. I want to live by the measure of success of how happy have I been? How much joy have I experienced throughout my life, right? Am I living my heaven on earth, or am I in the process of creating that for myself if I'm not there yet, right? That truly is the measure of success. So again, you don't have to fight the world. You don't have to fight anybody else about what their definition of success is, right? Because even if you Google it, I think a lot of times success is defined from the lens of financial success, right? And that's okay. Financial success is really important. It's abundance. Money is freedom. Very important, right? I think it's extremely important. But again, believing that you're unsuccessful, believing that you're a failure because you don't have as much money as someone, because you don't have as much free time as someone, because you're having to work somewhere you don't want to work, believing that you're less than because someone else has more of something, therefore they're more successful than you are, that's bullshit. It's BS. But it's how 99.9% of the world, the population, kind of lives, right? You get to choose, you and I get to choose to not be a part of that, right? We can still be a part of the world. We can still harmoniously be with everyone, but we don't have to take on all the thoughts of this collective consciousness, because some of them are negative, right? We can create solutions around that. So one of the solutions is to stop measuring success by what you have or what you own, and then comparing that to other people to measure how successful, therefore how worthy you are. And then that's the other thing is we tie net worth, we tie what we do for a living and money and all that stuff to our self-worth, and I don't know where this comes from. Actually, I do know where it comes from, right? But it's one of those things that's just such a poisonous, terrible thing to live by, right? Because one, it's never going to keep you happy. Two, you're always going to be chasing the next thing, not from a place of desire and joy, but from a place of not enoughness, from a place of lack. And why would you do that? Why would you spend your entire life doing that? Like, what's the point? Does it really matter? Does anyone really care that much? No. All that matters is how you feel internally on a day-to-day basis about yourself and your life, right? That's all that really matters. So I think if you can start, and that's why the whole I'm going to stay in a 7 to 10 happiness level is so important, because I think it's a reflection also of my self-worth, right? Who I am, just my presence here in this world is always perfection. I'm 100% worthy, right? I get to feel really amazing all the time, right? And for me personally, I try to stay like at an 8, 9, 10 as much as I can. Like I said, if it dips to a 7, that's fine, right? But I think that this exercise of deciding to be happy as you can be is really powerful, and it's very related to how you see yourself, how you define success. Because again, if you're feeling as good as you can feel, then your worthiness is not tied to external things. Your worthiness is not tied to external success, right? You already feel successful, which means you already feel joy, right? That's the true measure of success, really, in this realm, in this way I'm speaking of it, right? The spiritual way, which is really all that matters, right? So just remember that. And again, you don't have to go arguing with people. You don't have to try to correct people. You don't have to, be someone who's really angry at the world for not having the same definition. You get to stay in your lane. You get to think and feel how you want to think and feel. You get to redefine what success means to you. You get to choose to be as happy as you can be while you're trying to improve your life. Maybe, like I said, you're in survival mode and you want to get out of that. Maybe you're not in survival mode and you just want to improve your life, right? But just remember, as you're pursuing whatever it is that you're pursuing, as you should, remember to try to stay as happy as you can. And there's a lot of shit out there. I was talking to someone about this yesterday. I went out for a movie last night. We were talking after the movie, and it was just interesting because there's a lot of stuff that's taught out there about, hey, just like settling for contentment, settling for peace. And I don't think that's a bad thing, okay? I think if you've been in a really low place, settling for peace and contentment is a huge relief, right? That's a good place to be. But I think, why not push the boundary? Why not push the envelope? Why not go beyond that? Why not actually make happiness your standard? You know, I feel pretty joyful. I feel pretty excited. I feel pretty good. I feel this energy flowing through me where I want to do more, where I want to experience more, where I want to give more, right? Where I want to feel more, right? Why not pursue that as your new standard? Why settle for lower feeling, lower vibration places, right? You don't have to. And a lot of times we agree with people because we want to fit in, right? So a lot of times, you know, some people will say, oh yeah, you know, I don't want, even in relationships, it's such bullshit, right? Like it's crazy. Whether you've been in relationships, married or are married, it's just one of those things where a lot of, like, in social media now, so much of what's being taught is, you know, to not go after the feelings, to not go after happiness, you know, just go after respect. And the respect is what's going to be constant. The passion waxes and wanes. I'm like, what bullshit? You know, what kind of terrible relationships do these people have? And why are these people the authority of everyone else? And how many innocent people are listening to this BS? And when I say BS, I'm not dissing the teachers. I'm not dissing the people who are saying it. That's their experience, right? Good for them. I'm not insulting them as people. I just have a problem with them coming out and then trying to tell everyone that this is how it's supposed to be for everyone else, because it's not, right? I feel love and joy and passion every single day in my relationships, right? Every single day, right? Throughout the day, right? I feel like my new standard, as I was going through my whole relationship journey and figuring out who am I? What do I really want from a romantic relationship, right? What does that even look like? What would a marriage, if I wanted to get married, look like at this stage of my life, right? All those things. And so you get to decide for yourself. And for me, I set very high standards for myself, right? And the amount of joy I want to feel, the amount of happiness I want to feel. And again, it doesn't mean that there may not be conflicts. It doesn't mean that there may not be little annoyances. It doesn't mean that there may not be problems to figure out, right? But I think that's where it really does come down to, are you truly best friends with your partner, right? And if you guys are, then you have each other's back, and you guys are always want the best for each other, and you guys will always try to make each other feel as best as you can too, which unfortunately a lot of relationships don't operate that way today, right? So I'll have to do a separate video on that. I say I have to do a separate video because I have hundreds of thoughts that come up while I'm talking to you guys, and there's so much I want to talk about and share, just to help you, if it helps you in any way through my own experience. But, you know, that's just a small example. It's like, why can't you be happy in your romantic relationship? Why does your romantic relationship have to be a 5? And then, oh, sometimes if we have happiness, great, right? Again, if you've had really traumatic relationships in the past, if you're currently going through something that's just brought you down, and you've been like at a 3, and you've been feeling stuck or miserable in that relationship, I understand. I feel you, right? And at that point, maybe you just want peace, right? The next step for you is just peace and contentment. And then from that, if happiness comes sometimes, great. That's a great life. And I think that's totally fine for you, right? But again, I'm asking you to reach for more, because I believe you deserve that. I believe you can experience that and achieve that, right? Why not set a standard? Even if you're in a current relationship right now that has you've established this certain way that you guys are, right? You can always change that, right? You can literally attract any version of your spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend that you want right now. It may take some work, but you can do that. You can have the best relationship ever, even if it's been shit before, right? And if it's someone new that you're single, and someone new that you're wanting to meet or have in your life, again, set really high standards for yourself. And setting high standards doesn't mean being picky. It doesn't mean, you know, running away the minute someone doesn't have so-and-so thing or so-and-so quality, or, you know, people's expectations now are crazy too. And it's ironic I say that, because I have really high standards with how I want to feel in the relationship, which 100% has to do with me. I have high standards of how I want my partner to show up in our relationship, which again has 100% to do with me, because the more I think of them a certain way, they will show up that way to me, right? So again, it comes down to ourselves. And I feel like so many of us are settling for things, and we're not willing to feel good. And why do that? Why go your whole life feeling mediocre about your job, mediocre about your relationship, mediocre about your life? Like if that really is your goal, which I know it's not, because that doesn't feel great for anyone, why aren't you doing something to change that, right? So all that to say that the goal is to feel as happy as you can feel now, and then let the things in your life, the things that you want, continue to provide that happiness for you. But regardless of what those circumstances are, just choose to be as happy as you can be, right? For me, like I said, that baseline is 7 to 10, and it could go beyond 10. I have things that are 10 plus, right? Like there's certain people in my life that make me feel a 10 plus every single time, right? And there's certain things in my life that make me feel even beyond a 10. And the cool thing is that throughout your life, what's a 10 for me now may become a 5 for me later, because I'll evolve, then I get to chase a new 10, right? So throughout your life, it can evolve and change, but that's exciting too, because then you have more things to constantly look forward to, right? But focus on feeling as good as you can feel now, and then continue to solve the problems you have in your life now, create the things you want to create now, but try to do it as much as you can from a good feeling place. If you do, one, most likely you'll achieve the things you want to achieve, you'll get the things you want to get, you'll become who you want to become. But two, you'll have felt better in the whole process of it. Because one thing that I've noticed is a lot of times when you have achieved something, but you like really suffered and struggled your way there, and you were miserable, you never want to repeat that shit again. Right? And sometimes you don't even enjoy the result. Right? Even after you achieve that thing or get that result, you're like, oh, like I'm not even happy anymore, because getting here was I was so fucking miserable. You know, it doesn't even matter that I have this thing now. I don't want it. You know, it's turned me into this bitter, miserable person. That's gonna take me years to overcome. Right? So why would you do that? Why would you do that? Stop doing it. All right. Okay, hope this video helped. It's gone a lot longer than I intended it to be, but I see these videos as like mini courses and master classes. So if it helped, go ahead and comment below and let me know what part was helpful. Comment below and let me know what your journey has been on just the whole topic of choosing to be as happy as you can be. If you have any things that you do, exercises, mental exercises, things that you do to stay in a happier place, a higher vibration. And of course, if you have any questions, go ahead and, of course, like the video, subscribe if you'd like. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Mwah. Lots of love.